This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know, www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset, where we're reading from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Today I'm reading from pages 123 to 127. Read along and join in the discussion afterwards. So let's get started, shall we? 123 to 127. Bottom of 123, last paragraph. We can all remember the time when the gas meter reader pounded on the door hard enough to break the panels. When the door was opened, he pushed his way in, uninvited, with a scowl on his face, which plainly said, "What the hell did you keep me waiting for?" All that has undergone a change. The meter man now conducts himself as a gentleman who is delighted to be at your service, sir. Before the gas companies learned that their scowling metermen were accumulating liabilities never to be cleared away, the polite salesmen of oil burners came along and did a land office business. During the Depression, I spent several months in the anthracite coal region of Pennsylvania, studying conditions which all but destroyed the coal industry. Among several very significant discoveries was the fact that greed on the part of operators and their employees was the chief cause of the loss of business for the operators and loss of jobs for the miners. Through the pressure of a group of overzealous labor leaders representing the employees and the greed for profits on the part of the operators, the anthracite business suddenly dwindled. The coal operators and their employees drove sharp bargains with one another, adding the cost of the bargaining to the price of the coal, until finally they discovered they had built up a wonderful business for the manufacturers of oil burning outfits and the producers of crude oil. The wages of sin is death. Many have read this in the Bible, but few have discovered its meaning. Now and for several years, the entire world has been listening by force to a sermon which might well be called, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." Nothing as widespread and effective as the Depression could possibly be just a coincidence. Behind the Depression was a cause. Nothing ever happens without a cause. In the main, the cause of the Depression is traceable directly to the worldwide habit of trying to reap without sowing. This should not be mistaken to mean that the Depression represents a crop which the world is being forced to reap without having sown. The trouble is that the world sowed the wrong sort of seed. Any farmer knows he cannot sow the seed of thistles and reap a harvest of grain. Beginning at the outbreak of the World War, the people of the world began to sow the seed of service inadequate in both quality and quantity. Nearly everyone was engaged in the pastime of trying to get without giving. These illustrations are brought to the attention of those who have personal services to market to show that we are where we are and what we are because of our own conduct. If there is a principle of cause and effect which controls business, finance, and transportation, this same principle controls individuals and determines their economic status. What is your QQS rating? The causes of success in marketing services effectively and permanently have been clearly described. Unless those causes are studied, analyzed, understood, and applied, no man can market his services effectively and permanently. Every person must be his own salesman of personal services. The quality and the quantity of service rendered and the spirit in which it is rendered determine to a large extent the price and the duration of employment. To market personal services effectively, which means a permanent market at a satisfactory price under pleasant conditions, one must adopt and follow the QQS formula, which means that quality plus quantity plus the proper spirit of cooperation equals perfect salesmanship of service. Remember the QQS formula, but do more. Apply it as a habit. Let us analyze the formula to make sure we understand exactly what it means. 1. Quality of service shall be construed to mean the performance of every detail in connection with your position in the most efficient manner possible, with the object of greater efficiency always in mind. 2, quantity of service shall be understood to mean the habit of rendering all the service of which you are capable at all times, with the purpose of increasing the amount of service rendered as a greater skill is developed through habit and experience. Emphasis is again placed on the word habit. 3, spirit of service shall be construed to mean the habit of agreeable, harmonious conduct, which will induce cooperation from associates and fellow employees. Adequacy of quality and quantity of service is not sufficient to maintain a permanent market for your services. The conduct or the spirit in which you deliver service is a strong determining factor in connection with both the price you receive and the duration of employment. Andrew Carnegie stressed this point more than others in connection with his description of the factors which lead to success in the marketing of personal services. He emphasized again and again the necessity for harmonious conduct. He stressed the fact that he would not retain any man, no matter how great a quantity or how efficient the quality of his work, unless he worked in a spirit of harmony. Mr. Carnegie insisted upon men being agreeable. To prove that he placed a high value upon this quality, he permitted many men who conformed to his standards to become very wealthy. Those who did not conform had to make room for others. The importance of a pleasing personality has been stressed because it is a factor which enables one to render service in the proper spirit. If one has a personality which pleases and renders service in a spirit of harmony, these assets often make up for deficiencies in both the quality and the quantity of service one renders. Nothing, however, can be successfully substituted for pleasing conduct. The capital value of your services. The person whose income is derived entirely from the sale of personal services is no less a merchant than the man who sells commodities. And it might well be added, such a person is subject to exactly the same rules of conduct as the merchant who sells merchandise. This has been emphasized because the majority of people who live by the sale of personal services make the mistake of considering themselves free from the rules of conduct and the responsibilities attached to those who are engaged in marketing commodities. The new way of marketing services has practically forced both employer and employee into partnership alliances, through which both take into consideration the rights of the third party, the public they serve. The day of the go-getter has passed. He has been supplanted by the go-giver. High-pressure methods in business finally blew the lid off. There will never be the need to put the lid back on because in the future business will be conducted by methods that will require no pressure. The actual capital value of your brains may be determined by the amount of income you can produce by marketing your services. A fair estimate of the capital value of your services may be made by multiplying your annual income by 16 2/3, as it is reasonable to estimate that your annual income represents 6% of your capital value. Money rents for 6% per annum. Money is worth no more than brains. It is often worth much less. Competent brains, if effectively marketed, represent a much more desirable form of capital than that which is required to conduct a business dealing in commodities, because brains are a form of capital which cannot be permanently depreciated through depressions. Nor can this form of capital be stolen or spent. Moreover, the money which is essential for the conduct of business is as worthless as a sand dune until it has been mixed with efficient brains. I am going to stop there. And I am back now. Good morning, Deborah. Good to see you. Maria, good to see you. Good morning. Welcome. And if anybody would like to jump in that open seat and discuss what I consider to be an interesting passage, please do so. I'll tell you what caught my attention. The QQS rating, quality, quantity, means nothing without spirit. The spirit in which I render the service. You know, they're all interchangeable. It doesn't matter what I'm selling. Honestly, everything that I sell involves service of some sort. And if I don't have the pleasing personality that makes it a good experience to work with me and my team, then I'm missing a piece, right? course, could go back further when he talks about the gas meter man. And, yesterday we were all talking about the lousy customer service. And yet, when we think about it, we can go into banks and we're greeted promptly with courtesy. Pleasure to be of service to you, ma'am. When somebody used to read my electric meter, that's not done anymore. Good morning, Ha.
Good morning, Charlene. We're talking about think and grow rich, and there is everything you read, from the beginning to up until now. Everything serves some purpose. I mean, the gentleman very clear. He talking about the cultivate the culture of the company. This is very, very significant. Everything is, you just cannot do a certain thing in one department and do some other thing in the department. It have to be unified, and that beginning with the culture and the beginning with the leader of the company.
You are so right. I'm recalling many times in companies where you hated going to a particular department. In a corporation, you just hated going because the attitude within that department was horrifying. And it didn't seem to be strictly in any kind of department. I mean, accountants were just as fun as sales is just as fun and pleasing as customer service people. But one company in particular I'm recalling, there were segments in sections you just didn't want to go into. They were mean.
Yeah. And when he talking about you have to sow the seed in order for you to harvesting, and that is how true that is, because for anything at all, anything you do, you have to start with the foundations. Just thinking that a piece of the soil, the garden, and you have to cultivate, you have to plant seed in order for you to harvest in the future time. Now, but again, keep in mind that whatever you're planting, you will harvest. You just cannot plant the apple tree and expecting that you will harvest pears or bananas.
Yes, be careful of what seed you're planting, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting points. Excellent. And we're bringing Sabrina in. Yes, Ha.
Good morning. No, I thought that I just jump off for somebody to get on, but here's Sabrina there, so I just want to say hi. Then
Good morning, ladies. I just had to speak to the part where he talks about brains not being spent.
Oh my gosh, that's
mine's spent frequently.
Oh, it is not. It is not. It is shared. Shared.
No, it's exhausted. It's spent. It's done.
Okay. On that side, I can go with knowing what you've been doing the past week. Yes, yeah, I can go with that. But I got to tell you both, and everybody here that's joining us this morning, is that I love that you can't. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. You got to put some brains behind it. And it goes back to you got to have an idea, and you have to have the desire, and you have to have the imagination. And, make use of that brain. And personally, I think it's the most important organ we have in our body. So of course I loved it.
I love what you always say from the beginning, and at the end you're always closing with, live your life. What did you say? On purpose.
On purpose, with purpose, grow your heart, grow your mind.
Exactly. That passage mean, focus, whatever that, how you want to live. And then that is, know your purpose and live your purpose.
Yes. And sometimes the entire journey is about finding your purpose for some, and others get it, pretty early. And then the journey is struggling to actually live your purpose because it's different than others want you to live. And there's almost a battle, almost. It's easy for you, but it's difficult for others to participate because they don't get it. And then others, I look at with a smile and say, wow, good for you. You know your purpose. You know what you're supposed to be doing. You've been doing it for 25, 30 years. You're still happy as a lark and couldn't be happier. And it's awesome. And that inspires me because it tells me that it's possible. I want to say good morning to Matt and Wendy. Glad to have you with us. And Sean, good morning. Go ahead.
Sorry. He talks about quality, quantity, and spirit. Is there terminology that's used today that's different than that? That means the same thing?
Not right off the top of my head.
I was thinking there was, and I was trying to figure out what it was.
Good morning, Bruno. There may be somebody in the comment area that knows. I think I know what you're talking about. Is there's another, just another way to say it.
Yes, Sean, it's begging for a vacation and it's coming to your house. My brain.
Oh, that's okay, Sabrina. I just to be certain, I looked up where you're located. You're 30 minutes from where my mom will be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with her when she takes off for the winter. And when we join her, I'm thinking, I just might run up the road and say, hey.
Where is that going to be?
Bushnell.
Are you serious? Have you been there before?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in the middle of the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no,
we're cool. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out to you. Good morning, So good morning, everybody. So here we've got quite a few things actually happening here. The first one, which Hav brought up, was if you're going to plant the seed, you want to be certain you're planting the right seeds, because you could be putting a lot of effort into something that's going to grow into something you really didn't want.
Yes. And there was another part about the getting without giving.
Yep.
And I want to point out, I know you were at the networking meeting that I was at yesterday. Did you notice that there was somebody there that hung out long enough to get to introduce themselves and tell all about themselves, and then they bailed?
So moving on.
I'm only bringing that up to point out the person that throws their stuff out without.
Yeah, and then walks away and says,
here's my card, 3 of them, hand them out.
Yeah, I'm not interested in you or anything you have to say or answer any of your questions. This is me, all about me, who I am, what I do. Bleh, move on.
I think it speaks to that. Yeah. That action speaks to that passage.
It does.
When you're talking about take some time for people to find their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
The way I look at it, because life is a journey, and sometimes that sometimes that trouble find you even you don't looking for, and at that moment you just have to stop and think, okay, now what? And and then you if you start to asking that question and you say, okay, what lesson do I need to learn through this? Because I believe that every one of us have a purpose, because our creator, or we know that what is our purpose, and our trouble, that is we are on the job training.
Yeah, there you go. I love that.
We need to go through that in order for us to help somebody else, and to have a compassion, and to have that understanding to help other people.
Well, that brings out the spirit, doesn't it? That's what you're talking about, is nurturing and growing the spirit with which we bring the quality and quantity of whatever it is that we bring to our business or to our jobs or to our life. I had a definite purpose for many years, which is very different than the purpose I have now. So that can change as well, as a result of growing, as a result of experiences, of being exposed to new things. Good morning, Paulette and Roy. Glad you could make it this morning. So my definite purpose, my primary reason for being, if you will, no, I'm not going to put it that way. My definite purpose has changed. My primary reason for being has not, because that's rooted in my faith. So I needed to clarify that. So when in doubt, when wondering what the heck's going on, I can take that breath and I can take a step back and get back to my primary purpose of being. And then I can get to my definite purpose of doing. So I wanted to clarify that. Good morning, Sean. Glad you can make it. I'm sorry, but Dad, you talk about good timing on hesitation with the video. Sean, are you with us? No, it's gonna. Hopefully. Well, he can't. It's frozen. The video is frozen, right? Okay. We'll have him try again. How was that for perfect timing? Oh, and I've got it recorded. That's fabulous. I mean, that was just nothing to be embarrassed about, Sean. It was it was good. So anyway, moving forward, yes, we are affected by that which is around us. And what do we do about that, right? So these are some of the things, the principles he's teaching us. And that which we're discussing are some of the things that can get us through good times, bad times, whatever the times may be, because I'm going to go back to what he said earlier in the book, which is about temporary defeat instead of failure. And it can be looked at as anything that's this wall that's put up. It's temporary. And now I'm going to go back further, because what I really liked was the beginning of the reading, where he shows that when you're in an industry that lacks pleasing personality, quality and quantity of service, and the good combination of the three, then there's going to be somebody else that's going to come in and take your place. And to me, that says kudos to those who are able to see the issue and walk in and say, well, we've got this. And he was talking in terms of the coal industry back in the, was it the late 1800s, early 1900s as he's talking, right? The coal industry, but when the miners were starting to organize, they were just starting to organize, and it caused such issue and rancor that, and price increases that, so that's coal. So the oil industry walked in and said, hey, we can do it. We'll do it with a smile. Good morning, Evan. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Hello, Sam. Good morning to you.
I think that when he's talking about the pleasing personality,
Mm-hmm.
something about not talking about the individual that say yes to anybody or have no convictions. I think that it coming from a compassion. You know, when you just cannot pleasing somebody if you don't have some empathy and coming from the point that you've been there, you have done that, and you have, you know, you kind of understand where they're coming from.
I think that's a good point. I'd like to add to it, what came to my mind was that a pleasing personality may be rooted in a feeling of being of service rather than of entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my gosh, and we're visited by the dog. But being of service, you know, I'm here to be of service rather than I'm entitled to the pay that I'm getting because I showed up.
Yeah.
So, you know, that kind of changes the attitude and the personality of with whom you're going to be dealing with or that you're representing for the day, you know?
You know, I hated the idea that I keep on pouring the honey on you.
I know. I know. Sweetie, you can pour honey on me all day long.
This community is, you know, if you just have somebody who attending this reading and to hear what we share, and everybody just do their part. Just you don't want to try to change the world. You change yourself first, and you will be a part of the world, and everything will be click. And then we have such a beautiful world to live in.
Mm-hmm. We do.
It. Thank you, Miss Charlene. And I want to mention to everybody, Charlene just have a new book on Amazon yesterday. And check it out, because if she can give you that much for free, you know, if you have to buy her book, might be something golden nuggets in there. So check it out. So,
you're awesome, huh? Thank you. You're awesome. All right, we have open seat. Anybody want to jump in and join the conversation? Please do. Just general thoughts. You know, you disagree, that's fine. Would love to hear that. Want to have questions, want to answer questions, that's perfectly acceptable. Actually, it's encouraged. That's what I'm looking for. Oh no, Sean, you're going to be lost in cyberspace. You're in cyber warp. All right, Sabrina. So we go back to the reading. Let's go back to all those words that are capitalized for emphasis. I'm going to go back to the QQS formula. Do more is what he says. Remember the QQS formula: quality, quantity, spirit, and apply it as a habit. And then I really liked harmonious conduct as it relates to Andrew Carnegie, he insisted that his men be agreeable. And to me, that doesn't mean that you're yes men. It means that you're not going to lose it when somebody disagrees with you, that you can participate in a discussion. You can have an intelligent debate, meaning that if you feel strongly, you simply say that I feel strongly about this instead of showing it. Oh, Sam, I perfectly understand not being prepared for public viewing. Perfectly understand that. Good morning, Evan. Or is it
Hi,
Evangeline?
good morning. I just want to say good morning to you and congratulations for your book. That's all I just wanted to say. I'm just happy to listen in your beautiful word. Thanks a lot. I'll jump out and give it people a chance.
Okay, you're a dear. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Welcome.
Is spirit the outward expression of your mindset? Oh, Chuck, that is an excellent question. Check that out, Sabrina. Is spirit the outward expression of your mindset? How about we just simply make it a statement and your spirit should be the outward expression of your mindset, or that it is the outward expression and therefore should be tended to. And I can't hear you, Sabrina.
You better write that down so I can make you a meme.
Well, Chuck, make Chuck a meme because that's Chuck's.
Well, you were rewriting it. I'll make Chuck a meme like his.
Okay.
I want to just say one of the things on here also that you might want to point out or that we want to talk about is in caps, it was a part about they built up a wonderful business for the manufacturers of oil burning outfits and the producers of crude oil. Obviously, the implication there is that your attitude and the services and the value that you deliver can help build your competition's business.
Exactly what that means.
Mm-hmm. So think about that. Remember that when you pop into somewhere and throw your business cards at people and run away instead of getting and not giving anything, right? That's right. Yeah.
That's funny. Anybody want to tell a little bird? It'd be appreciated. Brian says, out of the mouth, the heart speaks in abundance. Proverbs says, yes. Yes. And knowing that Carnegie and the others that Napoleon Hill interviewed had primarily a Christian faith, I'm sure that's what he's done, is to reword a lot of that which came out of the Bible, because he does refer to the Bible throughout his writings.
I would say it's clearly a lot of it's out of the Bible.
Is there, okay, Sean, here's a thought. Of course there is. What about giving too much? Is there such a thing? For me, there is.
Yes. And earlier in the book, it states that.
Yeah. You must, I look at it as I must have my own house in order. And it's a form of selfishness that when my needs are taken care of, not my wants, when my needs are taken care of, then I am better prepared to give to others. And when my needs are not taken care of, it is reflected in that spirit. I'll still give the quality and the quantity, but honestly, the spirit with which it's given is hindered. It is hindered. David, which I'm assuming is how I pronounce that, welcome. Good to have you here. So anybody that would like to discuss the pages that were read, jump in the seat. I'm still struck by everything he's writing was written in 1937. It is 2015, and so much of it applies. We just changed the word depression to recession.
Yes, you're right. So much of it does apply.
And in terms of the world experience, in terms of the world of finance, which affected every business, every person's living situation in some way, some worse than others, but in some way it was affected. And when he talks about business and selling your personal services and getting through it anyway, doing it anyway, right? Then brings out this statement or two that totally blows my mind, which is, why aren't people paying attention? Why didn't we learn from this? So that's one thing. And then the second one is that if there is a principle of cause and effect, no, there's something in here where he says in the future, the way business will be conducted. And it actually is. It actually is being conducted that way, especially in the smaller businesses. And especially definitely in the solopreneurs, because we've gone back to, because the internet is allowing us to go back to the day before the industrial age, when it was cottage industries, where it was somebody was doing something in the house and sold the goods to the neighborhood, sold the goods to the small town, to the township, to the rural area that they lived in, to the blocks that they lived within, cottage industries. And the internet is bringing that back so that we simply have a bigger neighborhood.
Oh yeah, it's a way bigger neighborhood.
And I think that it affects and has an impact on how we, as very, very small business owners, solopreneurs, micro business owners, whatever you want to call it, we putting together that QQS, putting the quality and the quantity, it's our spirit that is having a positive impact on a lot of people, because we have a lot to risk. Just as you said, Sabrina, all they have to do is get on the internet and they'll find my competitor.
Absolutely. Well, and also he states in here, where did I just find that? He's talking about the spirit, and he basically says that he will keep people who are around who conform to the spirit, even if they're not as strong as in the quantity and quality. So yes. I think that pertains to the giving portion of,
the giving plus the way so if you're going to compare, this is what's flashing through my mind right now. If I compare apples to apples, the service, the quality, the quantity, and the spirit with which it's given of one company to another, and they're relatively equal. One doesn't give quite as much for the dollar. Let's compare cable companies. So if I go dollar for dollar, I may have to give up a few channels if I switch over to another paid television company, right? And I'm comparing them. Those who treat me like I'm something special, who go out of their way to offer something, are going to keep my business or get my business.
You're right.
I only say that because I just recently went through this. And it was the way I was handled that helped me to determine whether or not I was going to stay or if I was going to go. Because I knew going in that they were going to be offering me some freebies and what have you. But that wasn't the point of my making the call. It really was a legitimate reason why I was contacting them. But the determining factor was, do I stay or do I move over? And I decided to stay because even though I went through 3 different people, it was a pleasant experience from all 3. We laughed. One felt comfortable sharing a joke. I wish I could remember it, but you all know I can only remember one joke at a time. Didn't make me laugh harder than the joke I like right now. And then, the last one was it was terrific. And I said, yeah, I'll stay with you because you're not going to cost me anymore. So.
And I think that we are starting to, that's going to be revisited again as well, because as companies and businesses over the last 10 years have implemented this all electronic, we're talking to the computer voice thing. The more computer voices I talk to, the less times I come to your business, guaranteed.
Yeah, that's eventually what's going to happen. But the large corporations won't feel it if they don't have much competition.
Nope.
Good morning, Naomi. Glad you could join us. For anybody who hasn't got a copy of the book, there is a link to a PDF. You don't have to download anything, and you don't have to give me your email address for it. Good morning, Monica. You're welcome to just click on it and go to pages 123, 127, kind of glance over to see what we're talking about, so you can join the conversation, which means that we have an open seat. So anybody who would like to talk about that which was read, 123 to 127, jump on in. We're talking about service. We're talking about what can we bring, the causes of success for effective and permanent success is applying the quality quantity of service, and the spirit in which it is rendered, and making it a habit. And his focus right now is in the personal services realm, which, when I say that, I'm thinking of what Haas said yesterday about if you're working within a company and you're an employee, the personal services is your interactions with your fellow employees and your colleagues. And if that can be viewed that way. So it's not just for a business owner, it's not just for an employer, it's not just for an employee, it's for we as individuals who want to be better. Comments? Any?
I'm commented out.
Oh no, your brain is so dead. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I get it.
My brain is dead. And on
okay.
And on that note, I am going to leave you all and see if I can get some work done this morning, because
no.
As Charlene knows, she gets me up early to get here just to hang out with her for a few minutes.
And I'm so glad of that. I'm so glad to see you this morning. Thank you, Sabrina.
Bye, you guys.
Oh, so sweet. Good morning, Kelly. And let's see, we continue to learn and relearn until it registers in our heart and minds. Yes, and you're saying that to Cindy. It's a shame we still need to learn the same lessons. Some of us get it and move right along into the next lesson. Some of us have to hear it again and again, but repetition is the best way to learn it, quite honestly, to make it a habit. Okay, we've got audio only, Roy, just so you know. Good to have you on board. How are you? And I can't hear you, so it appears we may not have. Oh, there you are.
Sorry. Yeah, I've got a new mic and I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah, you can't mute yourself here.
So
muting is not an option. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. I just woke up and I love tuning into Blab to see what's going on when I first start my day, because news, weather, and sports just don't cut it for me. It hasn't cut it for me for a few decades now. So, and I saw that there was. I'm so glad
you popped in on this one. So
yeah,
glad to have
absolutely, absolutely. You do this every day, so you're a staple for me. So if I'm around at this time, I want to tune in. I love it. I haven't really read the book, but so many people talk about Napoleon Hill, and there's a lot of tidbits all over the place, little blog posts here, there, and everywhere. And he's just amazing. The thing I really like about what he says is that third mind that's created, right? So when two minds get together, and they feed off of one another. And that's why I jumped in here, because I saw that you were all alone. And, one of the things here at Blab is we don't talk alone. We don't blab alone. We don't host alone.
Thank you.
So just keep you company. You're very welcome. So, yeah, this is a marvelous thing you're doing, providing for each of us, for me specifically, individually, because I can't speak for others, an opportunity to just voice our, let's call it stuff, right?
Right.
Hi, Bruno.
To a point. Now, good morning, Bruno. Welcome aboard. Say something, because I don't think you're.
Oh, I say good morning.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
There it is.
For a moment there, I thought you might have been muted. And I think Chuck would give you the finger of shame, as he gave Roy just a moment ago, the friendly finger of shame. I need to give a quick shout out and hello to everybody who's come in. Kimberly, good to see you. Mohammed, Kelly, Vanessa, and Wahid, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So one of the reasons I even started this is because so many people talk about Napoleon Hill and the great teachings and everything he's brought forward and all the industry that has come forth and sprung from his teachings. And I began to mistrust what people were saying as to what he was teaching. And when I started reading the book, I realized that they're not getting some things right, but I'm not understanding it myself completely. And so this gathering, the reading aloud and discussion, has been a great help in me understanding really what the guy's talking about and identifying for myself where I might have some gaps, where I'm doing well, and what I can aspire to improve. That's it in a nutshell. And I am thrilled. Now Sean is here and he will attest my extreme nervousness. The first blab I did, I had no idea if anybody would show up. I had no idea. And I'm not one to just step out and put my face out there, but I did. So I'm very, very glad, Roy, that you're here. And Bruno, it's terrific having you here.
Thank you.
I wanted to get that in there. So Bruno.
Yes.
What would you like to contribute to the conversation?
Well, I was just following along, and I have read Think and Grow Rich, and there's so many the disciplines and the I guess the ideas that they teach within that book are so applicable. There's one specific one which is about persistence. In fact, there's Hina Khan, which is a therapist, also a coach. She recommends reading that chapter on persistence every day for 30 days, over and over and over again, until it really sinks into your head that in order for you to achieve your goals, you have to be persistent. You cannot let anything stop you, even those challenges or any obstacles that we face. If you're persistent, you will overcome. It's like tenacity. So that is an excellent chapter in that book, which I completely have read and enjoyed and continue to read over and over again. To make sure that I understand what persistence really means, even though I do know what it means, and we can all attest to this. I mean, I'm a coach, you're a coach, there's a lot of coaches here. And even as a coach, we as much as we preach persistence, there's the odd time that we're working on a goal or on a task where we lack persistence. And so it's one of those things that, you read it 30 days in a row, the full chapter, and you really understand the significance and the meaning about being persistent to overcome any challenge, any obstacle that you're faced, so that way you can get to the end goal. So I definitely love that chapter in that book. And I started reading it again because of Hina Khan. So props to Hina.
Fantastic. And I understand what you mean. And I think that that's where I was. I understand the words, but they really, really changes the meaning when you're trying to apply it on a daily basis or make it a habit or make it a part of who you are and what you're doing through the day. It's an entirely different word when you come out on the other side, right?
Totally. Like, for example, like any new platform that comes on into, I guess, social media like Blab, it's so easy for us to put aside what we were working on, right? Like, for example, I'm working on a workshop right now that I've been working on for a few months, making sure it's very cohesive. I have my talking points, and I've been working on that very steadily. And then here comes Blab, and suddenly it's very addictive. And so I put my workshop. No, right? I have a daily. Yeah, right. It's almost like Twitter, but amplified by a million, because you get that one-on-one engagement. We can actually dig deep in any one conversation or any one topic and really bring it forward. So I really love that. So it actually kind of replaced Twitter for me, and love it. But anyway, going back to my original point, when these new applications do come out, or new platforms, Periscope or Blab, we forget about the tasks or the goals that we were working on, and we put them aside. That's where that persistence comes into play, or commitment. To me, it's both words. I have to commit to finish that workshop, and I have to make sure that I'm persistent, that I'm going to persevere regardless of all these new distractions that come into play, to make sure that I finish that workshop. Yeah.
Well, now that could be a segue into the mastermind group that I have going on starting in October. Anybody having trouble getting things done? I've got a 3-month mastermind group been doing for years that has 2 seats open. So anybody interested, get in touch with me. Tweet me something. That's it. That's as much as I'm going to say on the personal promo. Thank you, Bruno. That was terrific stuff. Welcome, Eric. Welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning to see everyone. Bruno, you, Charlene, and Roy, and everyone in the chat there.
Good morning.
So, I agree with everything Bruno was saying. I mean, it is, in this day and age, it's real easy to get distracted. One of the things I personally made a choice to do, it's just been about 2 weeks right now. It's not a big deal, but it was to eliminate evening TV. And so, I would never have kind of considered myself a big TV watcher. But, if I actually wrote down what I did with my days, it kind of told on me how much I did there. And then I would also rationalize it by saying, well, it's not, it's, there's educational stuff, watching history channels or travel channels. I mean, that's all good, right? And it is. But I just wanted to change some habits. And I realized that there was this chunk of hours in the evenings where I was really regularly getting into the habit of sitting down and doing that. And boy, it's amazing when you kind of clear the deck. And I only do it Monday through Friday, okay? So I do allow some watching on the weekend, but it frees up an enormous amount of, part of it is a time, but kind of going to Bruno's point of, distractions. I realized how much media was coming in and kind of not leaving room for thinking about other things that I wanted to be focused on. And sometimes it's not always bad stuff that's coming in and distracting you. Like I said, TV, truly, I think sometimes it is good. I also would listen to an enormous number of podcasts, a lot of Silicon Valley stuff, a lot of Tim Ferriss, James Altucher. These are very good things. But when you've constantly got those podcasts, I would listen to audiobooks literally on 3 times speed, just because I was just devouring them. I wanted to get through them over and over and over, faster and faster and faster. And suddenly you're busy, your mind gets so busy that if you do have a focus, there's no room for it.
Right.
And so that's my comment.
It becomes traded. You're trading your focus for something else.
Right. Yeah, there's only so much room in there. One of the other things I wanted to comment on, and I'll be kind of brief on camera here, because I do have some things that are kind of pressing. But when you were covering in the reading about customer service and how, and you were illustrating with your example, Charlene, about the cable company, right? We've all got our cable company stories, right? What an opportunity there.
The bad and the badder and the ugly and the uglier, yes.
Right. One of the things that I think sometimes gets overlooked is we know this intellectually, but sometimes having a system to put it into practice. And I'm just going to give an illustration of that, because I'm kind of a systems guy. If I don't have like systems that kind of put things on somewhat of an autopilot where it can be like knee jerk, it doesn't build into a habit. And so the illustration to kind of key in on that is, so I have a company, as you know, Charlene, and we run appointments in homes, and I've been fortunate with the company. We've been able to grow it, consistently. It's actually a 7-figure revenue business now, but I don't actually run many appointments very much anymore, but I had an opportunity to last night. And one of the things that we do is we're often, there's competitors out there, and we have a system of asking the customer questions. It's conversational. They don't necessarily think that we're like asking them a systematic question, but we start into the conversation. We ask the customer, we say, let me ask you a question. If and when you did this type of project, what is most important to you? Is it the price, the product, or the service? And we ask that. It's a system. We train on that. We ask that. And it's kind of a leading question, because what we're really interested in conveying to them is that all 3 of those are very important. And if you're going to get all 3, in most people's experience, the only way you get all 3, a good quality product at a fair and reasonable price and have good service if you ever need it, is to deal with a good, reputable company. Okay, so we get them to buy in, or at least have the conversation that really the most important question that they should be asking themselves in this decision-making process is, who is the company? And I think, to your point, Charlene, you said that when you were talking with them on the phone, you had the one company that was conversational with you. They had a joke or something that you couldn't remember, but it was kind of lighthearted.
That's on me.
Right. And you just felt good that you were in kind of good hands, is kind of what I gathered by that.
That was it. Yes, I was being handled very well, and it was a pleasant experience all the way through. Right.
And so, were they the cheapest price or the most expensive, or, to some degree they had to be reasonable on their price, but did they deliver a good product? Yes. Probably good, or at least acceptable.
No problem with the product or service. Yeah.
Yep. So, and yeah, if you ever needed them for service, it sounds like you felt like you're dealing with real human beings that were going to treat you like a human being and get you taken care of. So, yeah, so that's my only contribution to this, is that when we kind of buy into things like this intellectually, and from the spirit, then to try to systematize it so that we actually engage in that communication with customers.
I think that's an outstanding way to do it. Thank you, Eric.
You betcha.
There's a reason you're succeeding with that company, right?
Yeah.
I like to think so, but I learned all this from people like Napoleon Hill and yourselves.
Yeah. I often talk about in my practice about systems and how critical it is to have a system because business is a system. And if you don't have process and method behind what you're doing, it's not going to work for you. You're not going to get to that level of success that you're looking for. So I love that you're talking about process and method or systems. It is something that I often talk about with my clients in terms of achieving success, is making sure that you do have that system. You know, it's a funnel or it's a sales funnel. It's a system that you get clients in, you teach, you produce, you give a service, and then you get them out, and then you sell them something else. So it's very critical that people understand this. And actually, Eric, you just said it very well. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Systems. Yeah, systems are I don't know how many people are in business for themselves. You know, like specifically coaches that give one-off ad hoc coaching sessions, and they struggle because they're having a difficult time retaining that client. So what I often tell them to do is figure out what the problem is. What is it that you're trying to solve? What issue you're trying to help your client solve? And take that one problem, create a system from it. So that way you're addressing one issue. And then once you address that one issue, then you can sell them on another service, which yet is another system. So that way you're really getting to the crux of what the problem is. And you're getting them in, you're teaching, you're providing a service, a solution, and then you're getting them out. But you're also selling them another service that is kind of tied to that initial problem. So, but
it's still ultimately, which is what Napoleon Hill is talking about, all of what you just described, Bruno and Eric, is that we ultimately have the customer in mind, the consumer in mind, the end user or the end experiencer of our quality, quantity, and service. That's what we have in mind. If we have them in mind first, then anything we put forth, and just as you did, Eric, you just discussed that you've got these systems in place of the questions you're going to ask that are directly related to the QQS formula that Napoleon Hill is talking about. And it's because you have the customer in mind. Because you know that when you come through, then it positively affects your reputation as a company, because the customer is happy to talk about you in a positive way because the service you rendered was done with a good spirit, as well as with the quantity and quality. I think that's what's really sticking out with me, is having that pleasing personality, providing the service that I provide, that you guys provide in the realm of the roofing company, Eric, you know, that all down the line, you know, everybody cares about what's happening with the customer. And the comparisons that Napoleon Hill gives us in the reading about you don't do that. And like Sabrina said earlier, you don't do that. You're just helping your competition to get more customers.
Right, absolutely. You know, I want to kind of accentuate something when it comes to the system. And that is, because I kind of touched on it, I hadn't run an appointment in months, okay? But because this has been so systematized, you know, and trained, and I, of course, had some times, you know, years ago where I did it very consistently and you ingrain it. But what you're talking about, Charlene, is focusing on the customer. Because it was systematized, because I did not have to think about the words that were going to come out of my mouth, because I didn't have to consciously think about that. I mean, you could slap me awake at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, Eric, what's the first thing that you ask? And I would say, let me ask you a question. If and when you decide to ever do something like this, what would be most important to you? Would it be the price, the product, or the service? I could be slapped awake at 3 o'clock in the morning and repeat that verbatim. What the important thing of that is, yes, it's the questions and the structure and where it's leading to, but more importantly, and I think to your point, Charlene, is it does not take up any of my, see you, Bruno, doesn't take up any of my mental capacity. It's on autopilot, which allows me to do what? It allows me to focus on whom? It allows me to focus on the customer. You know, if I'm not systematized, then it takes so much energy and focus to to think about what I'm going to say. Kind of like how I am right now. I can't focus on the others as easily because I'm creating what I'm talking about here. But if you can systemize things and put it on autopilot, there's value in that because it allows you to focus on the customer. I learned many things about this customer. There's a MSU, Michigan State University grad, which I am as well. Go State. He's a civil engineer. I learned some things about his family. And I have seen people that try to have conversations with people that they don't pick up on any of that. They don't pick up on any of the subtle cues with that person because they're so, non-systematized on some of the questions that they might ask. So anyhow.
I love those points. Great points, Eric. Thank you for sharing them. So I'm going to shut down the recording portion. Let's end this. And then I can keep the room open 30 to 45 minutes without any difficulty this morning. So please stay with us. The entire program's not going away. It's just the recording. Yeah. And so I want to thank everybody who has joined me in the live stream. That'd be Eric and Bruno and Roy and Sabrina and Ha. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. And those in the comment area, thank you so much for participating in the discussion today about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouKnow.com. And I want you to think about moving forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow your hearts, grow your minds, and grow your business. And until next time.